Alrighty, so I haven't messed with the bird too much, but I did do several runs the other day. I have enough to actually do one relic, which is not a whole lot. But the nice thing about it is that the collab relics actually don't take the pizza slices to be able to upgrade. So I assume it's probably just going to be easier to work on those first, and then whenever I do have the pizza slices to work on other relics, that'll probably be what I go for. But let's go over the team really quickly first, and then I'm going to have to grind through floors 1 through 3, which, by the way, are way easier now because they've lowered the damage cap on the floors, which is crazy. But floor 4, Transcendent Hraesvelgr, is obviously where the whole guide comes into play. So we're going to go over this, we're going to skip through, we're going to see how it goes. So this is the team that I'm using. This is the most popular team. Obviously, there's a little bit of exclusivity here. Some of you might not have Valentine's Day Deanne. I don't know that there's really like the best replacement for her. I don't think it's going to be like a 1-for-1. You can replace it with the red one, like the Red Festival Deanne, because this one is more like just useful in general. She's giving you attack related stats whenever you use a skill. You know, it just, she's just way better in my opinion. If you want to, you can use Freyr. Freyr actually does work pretty well. I think there are a lot of people that are using sort of like unknown focus teams, which makes a lot of sense. Just because, you know, Magelda is already an unknown. Thor is the strong character for the fight, and I think maybe they're even replacing Meliodas with probably like Nanashi. So, I mean, if you just want to go straight unknown focused, I haven't tried that personally yet because I'm just, you know, trying to learn the fight itself first before I try to branch out and do a whole bunch of different teams and everything. But this is kind of what I'm using at the moment. So I just have HP defense on Deanne. I have attack crit on the rest of them. And originally I was using HP defense on Magelda because I didn't really figure she'd be doing too much damage, but her ultimate is actually very good for the fight. And the Amplify card is extremely useful. It doesn't necessarily do the most damage, but it can do some, you know, decent damage, and you just want to be able to get through the fight as quickly as possible and not get screwed by RNG. So that is the gear setup. Here's my associated ones. I could probably swap tier over to attack crit for a little bit more min-maxing, but it's not anything crazy. The links are as follows. I just have, you know, Tarmia link on the Deanne because she's obviously going to be putting up stance, hopefully as much as possible, so she'll be taking all the damage. Saria link on Thor just because she is way better. She's way newer, so her crit chance and everything like that is just going to be higher. And, you know, being able to crit the boss and everything is going to just result in more damage. So that's pretty self-explanatory. I am using Mael on Melee at the moment. I don't know that it's like the best. You could probably swap it out for something else, but I mean, I only have him 5-6. If you don't have him, you know, super high dupes or whatever, he won't give you as many stats and everything, but the Grace itself is pretty good, so you can definitely take that for what it's worth. And then I have the tier link on my Magelda, and that's not necessary, really, because, I mean, hopefully she's not going to be taking too much damage in the first place, but you know, you could probably try something a little bit more aggressive if you want to. I've seen people use Margaret on them, on Magelda, and, you know, maybe even Sabnak if you really wanted to for like attack-related stats and everything. But I wanted to give her a little bit of a break, just because, I mean, we are going to be getting a lot of damage taken decrease stacks from Melee's passive, which is very helpful, and hopefully we won't take too much damage, but there are scenarios where, you know, if you have a lot of debuffs on you in floor 4, he'll use his little tornado move, and it'll do a lot of damage to the whole team, even, you know, if Deanne is stanced. So let me run through all 3 of these regular floors really quickly. Shouldn't take too long, honestly. Like I said, they have dumbed it down quite a bit, and we will get back to the floor 4 for the week. So, one sec. Alright, so it took me about 9 minutes to get here, but that's actually not too bad. We did finish with full health and everything, so I don't have to worry about that. Do note that it does carry your, you know, HP over as well, because when I was doing it last week, my DN had taken a little bit of damage. It wasn't a big deal enough to where I needed to like reset or anything, but it could have been a problem. I just realized I didn't talk about the card set. I'm pretty sure I'm just using the regular bird card set that does extra single target damage, so nothing fancy there, of course, but we're going to try to go over the actual mechanics and everything too, just to make sure that we are not missing out on anything. I actually had someone give me a couple of extra tips and stuff, so I'm going to pull those up as well. But for phase 1, I typically like to throw the stance out, Deanne single target, Magelda single target, and then I'll go ahead and throw out one of these Thor single targets. I was originally using the melee AoE, but The big problem with this phase is that as you go along, on turn 3, I think it is, or maybe it's just his turn 2, he's actually going to throw a bunch of debuffs on your team, and you need to be able to cleanse those as quickly as possible, like on that turn if you can, because this single target, I think, is going to put bleed on Deanne, so that is one debuff that you have to worry about, and then whenever he uses an actual like debuff skill, it's going to put 2 debuffs on everybody, and the reason why that is a problem is if we look at this passive right here, increases the hero's defense by 80% for every debuff applied on all enemies, which is obviously stacking up a lot when you have that many, and then when he uses this tornado card, it scales off of his defense, so it makes it do a ton of damage. So we did get lucky enough to pull 2 Miguelda cleanses here, so that is nice. It'll remove 1 debuff from everybody whenever we need it, but if you don't pull an extra cleanse, the melee AoE, if you have the Holy Relic, actually will cleanse off a debuff from everybody as well. So that can be very helpful. Do take that into consideration. So I think I'm just going to throw one of these out right here. I don't have my passive procced on her yet, but it's pretty darn close. I think because I have the extra Miguelda AoE, I'm going to use this to top ourselves back off, get rid of that debuff, even though I'm pretty sure he's going to apply it back anyway. Go ahead and use 2 single targets for the melee passive, and then it shouldn't take me more than 1 turn to kill after this, I don't think. So I'm going to merge those just because I want to get maybe closer to his ultimate because it'll do a lot of damage, and I only really need 1 cleanse, 1 AoE to make sure that I'm down to a decent number of debuffs on the team. So we pull a couple of extra single targets, which is good. We're getting a decent amount of amplify cards, which is actually nice. So here's the attack. That's going to put bleed back on us, which is a little unfortunate, but this is the debuff card. It's going to put disable, skill disable on us, which is kind of a big deal, and it's going to put an attack related stat lower on us as well. So this is where we need to cleanse off the defense related, and then we need to go ahead and use the AoE so that way we can get rid of these debuffs. And then I am going to single target, and I do have my passive proc, so I guess I'm going to throw one of these out as well. It is really, really nice and beneficial to have as many melee single targets and Thor cards in your hand as humanly possible, because 1, they're just going to be doing the most amount of damage, but later on in the fight itself, there are a lot of times where you need those cards specifically to kind of like get rid of stuff. So phase 2 is not too crazy. You really need as many level 2 cards as you can, which it sucks. I did get an easy merge there, but I would have been able to merge anyway. So in phase 1, if you don't have 3 level 2 cards or higher, they can be level 3s, you need to try and stall a little bit and try to make sure that you can get those, because if you don't, the whole gimmick to this end is going to be a little messed up. So I think I'm actually going to merge this and use this first, so I'm not wasting all of my good cards. And then I'm going to throw these out right here, so I'll keep at least 1 Thor card. We do have a couple of extra backup, like good cards from Thor and melee, so that is nice, but you can see we are going to apply these crit chance, crit damage decreases, and once he has 3 of those in 1 turn, it's going to remove them, and it's going to put a Hraesvelgr's protection buff on us, which is a barrier with 100,000 HP. So we don't have a Deanne stance on at the moment, which is kind of annoying. I think the characters that have the actual buff itself on, like this protection, those are the ones that are going to be having increased damage. So do be aware that you need to try and kill him pretty quickly, because I think it expires in 2 turns, or I think it may be 3 turns. It looks like a 2 turn. So I think we're going to go ahead and just go for gold here. So I'm going to throw all of these ultimates out. You will need the melee ultimate in phase 4 if you can't kill it like really, really fast. So do be aware that you might have to scrounge a little bit. But I'm going to throw this extra Thor card out just in case, because I really need to make sure that I kill before this barrier goes down, because once the barrier gets removed, you start doing really baby damage, and you really want to get out of this as quickly as possible. So that is one of the biggest problems I have with the fight itself, is that like I feel so stressed on time that a lot of the times I'm like, I really need good RNG here, and then I'll pull bad cards, and it kind of ruins my run. So, still haven't gotten another Deanne stance, which is kind of crazy, but in this phase specifically, he has a ton of immortality stacks. Amplify cards, so the Megilda single target and the Melee single target, or Thor cards, and I also think Megilda's ultimate with Power Strike will also take a stack off, but anything other than that, I'm pretty sure it just adds a... some of the other cards even might end up giving you damage dealt increases, like him, he will get damage dealt increases, so I'm going to throw these cards out right here. Luckily, we just have a really good amount of them in hand. I don't want these to merge because I need as many like Thor cards and stuff as possible here. So single target there. He does get a damage dealt increase stack, but it did take away an immortality stack, which is the important part. I think maybe just heavy hitting cards in general will remove the attack or the damage dealt increase. I'm not 100% positive on that. If you know, let me know. But another thing to worry about is that he will... he is going to be disabling different skill uses in this fight, or in this phase, and they will get unsealed whenever you move to the next phase, but you're in a bit of a time crunch here, because if you wait too many turns, he'll attack seal you, ultimate seal you, and then you literally just can't, use any cards at all. And that's obviously going to be extremely bad. So let's go ahead and use these, so that way we can get a little bit of a merge going here, and we can go ahead and throw another attack card out with Thor there. We're going to be really close to removing all of his stacks at this point after this turn. So that is going to be very beneficial for us. I'm not 100% sure. I think it's one of his skills will actually disable your characters. If your characters are skill disabled, they actually cannot remove immortality stacks. I'm pretty sure it depends on you having the actual skill itself. Available to be used. So I think this might be the disable. Yeah, so if I tried to attack with Thor right here, it would not remove a stack. So luckily I pulled two Megilda single targets, which are Amplify, so that is fine for me. And then I can even throw out this Melee AoE to kill, because even though he's already at 0 HP, I have to get rid of these two stacks first. That AoE will actually help me get rid of the debuff on Thor, which I don't know how many turns it lasts, but just getting rid of it before I move into the next phase is fine. And then, even though I would like to have the stance, no, I think I'm going to keep the stance. Let me throw out this single target instead. It maybe would have been better to use the single target with Deanne instead of the melee to kill, just so that way it refreshes my attack-related stat buff, but not a huge deal either way. So we take down that phase. We're looking pretty good. We've got a lot of ultimates in hand coming here, so I need to make sure that I keep the melee one if possible, because he is going to use a buff. I think it's every 2 turns, and this buff card does have evasion on it, which means that the only way I can hit is if I use an ultimate, and his ultimate does have buff removal, so that is very, very important. The thing with this phase is, depending on how much HP he has in his HP bar, he will put these Hraesvelgr's Wrath stacks on you, which can be a really big pain, because if you get 7 stacks, it'll actually just deal 500,000 damage to you. I think at the end of the turn, or it says inflicts 500,000 damage fixed damage on the target with max stacks, then removes the effect. So I don't know exactly when that procs. Just know that if you have Megilda cleanses or melee AoEs and stuff like that, try to use those from time to time, so that way you can get rid of some of these stacks. They are also going to, I think it lowers my damage dealt. Yeah, damage dealt is minus 10% as well per stack. So if you have a bunch of stacks on you, you're going to start doing less damage, and it's going to be a problem. So I think with certain teams you can get through this phase literally turn 1. Like if you have, I think it's the Freyr Unknown team, because you can use that to do death damage, and it does a good chunk of damage and everything like that. And I think you have to have Overcome Crisis, because you need him, he only procs that if he's 20% HP or less, and if you can get him low enough and just burst through that last 20% and just kill outright, you can just skip the whole revive process. So I don't know that I'm going to be able to do that with this team, but we are going to throw all of these ultimates out just to do as much damage as possible. See what we're looking like, hopefully draw some more Thor cards, because those will be really helpful, and we'll take it from there. So he is in the defense-related stats section. Now he has HP-related stats. I actually probably messed up a little bit by that, because it's like one of the previous bird floors where the first 33% is defense-related stat increase, the second 33% is HP-related stat increase, and then the third bit of his last third of HP is going to give him attack-related stats, which actually isn't that bad, but the HP-related stats, he gets a ton of HP back, which can be a big problem. So let's go ahead and cleanse up and heal a little bit. I don't know that we're going to be hitting damage cap or anything crazy with Thor's ultimate, so I kind of want to throw this out and try to go for it. I don't know that she's going to be hitting damage cap, though, which is the problem. We are going to remove 1 stack from her. She's going to be doing 10% less damage, but I think we can hit damage caps and stuff, which might be kind of nice. Dealing 30% HP? Actually was able to do that. Okay, so that was really good run, in my opinion. There are tons of runs that I do where I just get really bad RNG on that last phase, and I have to remove a lot of debuffs, and it ends up stalling a really long time, and obviously the longer that you stall, the worse it's going to get. So, you know, a little bit of RNG involved, of course, and obviously you're going to need to build up these characters as much as you possibly can. I'm even considering maybe upgrading Melly's Relic first, like if any of my characters, because obviously, like, if you want to upgrade, or like if you want to do this fight as efficiently as possible, obviously the characters that you're using on the team need to be as upgraded as you possibly can be. So I am considering that. I don't know if that's what I'm going to do just yet. We did get a couple of feathers, which is nice, but that is the fight. Be careful with those revives and everything on the last phase. The last phase can be incredibly frustrating. Trust me, I've lost several runs on the last fight, and then it feels like a giant waste of time, but it is what it is, unfortunately. Hopefully you guys were able to get some sort of extra information, or this was helpful. Obviously, I am using Thor. She's the brand new festival character. If you don't summon for Thor, you know, this team doesn't necessarily work as well for you. There are teams that don't use Thor, but I haven't tried any of them yet. Like I said, I'm still trying to get used to the fight and everything before I try and branch out to other teams. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Feel free to subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you guys later.